The Monmouth Award for Communication Excellence recognizes professionals who excel in different areas of media and communication fields. Past recipients have included Brian Williams, Jim Nance, Helen Thomas, and Jules Plangier. This year, the Communication Council and Monmouth's Department of Communication are recognizing the filmmakers behind Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, the Lego Movie, and the Jump Street franchise. They visited with student media a few hours before the main event. Danielle Axelrod moderated the discussion.
I'm here with Amanda Glatz of The Outlook, Joseph DeAngelis of WMCX, and Amanda Contour from The Verge. Joining us in the HawkTV studio are celebrated filmmakers Chris Miller and Phil Lord. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us, and we just have a few questions to ask you. So to start us off, you two met at Dartmouth College as undergrads.
True.
But your passion for film and storytelling began far before that. So can you just tell us when you started making movies?
Wow. I started making movies as a kid with my parents' giant VHS camera. I made I made a monster movie with our house cat and some Lego buildings, knocking over some cardboard and Lego buildings. That was like the first.
But it's got a good title.
Yeah, it was called like The Cat That Ate San Diego.
Yeah, it's a good title.
Wow. And what inspired you to come up with that name?
I don't know.
It was about a cat who ate San Diego.
Excellent.
It's really
Yeah.
clever title.
I made a film called A+ is for Animals.
Nice.
The title came from wanting to get an A+ on the project, and it was
Excellent.
about animals.
Did you get an A+?
I totally got an A+.
Nice. That's all that
Yeah.
matters, right?
Yeah, that's how I knew I was going to make it in the
Yeah.
biz.
Excellent.
So when did you guys first start collaborating together on projects?
Oh gosh, I tricked Chris into taking an animation class our freshman year, and that was the first of 3. And each time we shared a studio. We made separate films, but we made them side by side. So what became just kind of camaraderie, started as camaraderie, became more of a collaboration where I would show something to Chris and ask his advice and vice versa. But we didn't really work on the same project until we kind of accidentally got paired in a job interview. And they sort of just assumed that we were a team, and they hired us as a team.
And so they're like, oh, we'll see how this works.
Yeah.
And it took a while to sort of negotiate because neither of us had ever been in a situation where we weren't the final arbiter of the thing that we were making. And so we're still learning about that, but so I guess by accident, that's how it happened.
Yeah.
So it was fate.
Exactly.
It was fate. It was fate.
It all worked out.
Or a lie, or a big lie that we told, and we've been living ever
Yeah.
since.
Okay, so your partnership has since led to television sitcoms, animated TV shows and features, and highly successful movie franchises. What are some of the advantages and disadvantages of working as a duo?
Oh, writing is a very lonely job, and even directing can be lonely, even though there's a lot of people around you. But having somebody there in the foxhole with you that you trust and that you like, whose taste you respect, you can just turn to and go like, am I crazy? Do you agree this needs to be more this, or this is bad, or this is great? And
It's one of those things.
Yeah, and having someone else there that either has the same opinion as you and makes you feel, okay, I'm not crazy, this is going to work out great, is really, really the best part, I think, is having just somebody there.
That's good. Very nice, complete answer, Chris.
Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, you got it.
Also, complimenting each other is very important.
Yeah, 5 to 1 is supposed to be the
Supposed
ratio.
to be.
Yeah.
We're about 0.2 to 1.
Yeah.
It's going great.
But we're guys.
Yeah.
So both of you wear a variety of hats, including producer, director, writer, and sometimes even voice actor. So as you work, do you put yourself in the mindset of only one of those roles at a time, or do you always think about the different roles all at once?
That's an interesting question.
I wish that we were smart enough to sort of separate all of those things. I would say that the main difference is that when we're producing something, when we're at our best, we're trying to support the work of another filmmaker and give them all the tools that they need to be great. So we'll watch a cut as producers, and we're basically going like, here's what I would do, or here's what I notice, and this is what I'm inspired by, and try to give person, helpful feedback. If it's something that we're directing, the notes might be, that's you got to tighten up on this. You know, this you had to cut 10 frames out of here, and we got to change his voice out, and it's a different story. You kind of get a little more granular when it's your thing, and when it's someone else's thing, you try to kind of pitch out a mark for them to hit in their own way.
And whether you're writing or directing or producing or acting, you're always trying to be the custodian of the story, and you're always trying to think of it, what you're doing specifically in context of how it fits in the larger story. And so they're just different ways of executing the same thing.
So, Mr. Miller, what were you feeling?
Mr. Miller.
Yeah, we got to keep it formal here.
Yeah,
You know?
That's my
I don't
partner's
know if we're on
name.
a name basis yet. I don't know. So, what were you feeling when you got that call from Disney, and how did that specific call lead to the two of you starting your careers in Hollywood?
Yes, well, yeah, so I somehow crazily got a call while I was in college at my off-campus apartment from Disney Television Animation, and they wanted to fly me out to the to take a meeting, but I told them I couldn't go because I had midterms.
Oh.
And so what I was
Priorities.
thinking was, and I hung up the phone, I was thinking, why did you say that? That was so stupid. And I wanted to call them back and change my mind. I was like, no, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. I was excited, but I didn't know if it was just a crazy long shot or if it was going to actually lead to something, and it actually did. It led to us going to a meeting together and them thinking that we were a team, and then a million other things happening. So it ended up being great. But mostly I was just thinking about what a dum-dum I was.
Did you drag him along with you? He had no choice, or?
Yeah, Chris made two big mistakes, and the first was saying like, we'll fly ourselves out to Los Angeles, don't worry, and the other one was, can I bring my friend? And he's been living with the regret of that decision ever
So
since.
much regret.
That's all right, though.
So much.
So you guys had your first major splash in TV with a TV show. It was a comedy called Clone High that aired on MTV. You guys were really young when you were first put in charge of it, so were you really nervous to get started? And what do you guys think you learned from this whole experience?
We were definitely really nervous, but that's not what I remember about that experience.
We were always pretty nervous about everything that
Yeah.
we're doing. I remember feeling like it was a sort of a garage band type of thing. We didn't know what we were doing, but
I remember a strange amount of confidence.
Yeah.
That we knew what we wanted. We didn't know how to do a TV show really, but we knew what we wanted it to be. And we had been on a couple of jobs before, and we knew we wanted to do it the opposite way that it had been done. And that's just what we went with. I feel like we benefited from not knowing how dumb we were at the time.
And we learned so much. It was sort of, we had this attitude of like, well, we'll just tell them we know what we're doing, and then we'll figure it out secretly behind the scenes. And so we were able to hide behind that, and we would tell the MTV executives, like, oh, the animation process is different, you have to do this other thing, and we had no idea what we were talking about. And they believed us. We were 24 years old.
They knew less.
They somehow knew less than we did. And so
It really helps.
then we taught ourselves how to use Final Cut and how to edit. We taught ourselves how to do storyboards. We taught ourselves everything.
Yeah, we kind of lied and said we knew how to direct the episodes.
Yeah, which we didn't.
It's fake it till you make it,
Exactly.
right?
Fake it till you make it. That's
And
a
we
big
learned
part
it
of
was
it.
like a crazy film school that we had that they were paying us to go to.
Yeah.
So it worked out great.
So competency is a very rare commodity, and what you will find out in the world is that there's so little of it. If you have even a tiny amount, you can get pretty far.
So following your initial work on television, Sony gave you a shot at features with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. What inspired you to tell that story?
Well, that's our favorite book from growing up. And we had a meeting there. It was about a different project, a more successful project, actually. And we asked them, like, what's going on with this this movie idea? And they said, it's actually in turnaround, which means we tried it and it failed, and we don't know what to do with it anymore. For some reason, we thought that would make a great disaster movie. And we were really into movies like Earthquake and The Swarm and things that are, all these Irwin Allen films. And we asked them if they had ever considered doing it like Armageddon, but funny on purpose. And they had never thought of that. And that's, again, like, you never realize how unique your ideas might be you kind of assume that they went down that road, but they hadn't before.
But then you made a major jump from an animated feature film to an R-rated comedy with 21 Jump Street. So what inspired that change?
Well, we were trying to figure out what our next movie would be, and we were a little bit nervous about doing something again in the family space because we were worried about being pigeonholed as a certain one type of director. So we wanted to try to find something that that would make sure that we had the ability to do whatever random thing we wanted to do. And so we came across this project, 21 Jump Street. There was a very rough script, and Jonah Hill was attached, and we thought, doing a crazy R-rated comedy with Jonah Hill would be a lot of fun, and it would be so different, and it would be, we were doing Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, we never thought about it as like we're doing something for kids. We were just doing something that we thought was funny for ourselves, and so we thought we could do the exact same thing, but this time we could, tell crotch jokes, and then and that would be the only difference. And so we had to prove to them.
It's not that different, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty similar.
He has got a couple of crotch jokes in Cloudy.
Yeah, that's probably true. So we had to sort of prove to people that this was like a sensibility that we could do. We cut together a little action reel of the action that was in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs to show that we could direct action. And then luckily it was at the same studio, Sony, and so they had a good relationship with us. And we happened to know Jonah socially through comedy circles, and they gave us a shot. And also the movie was a crazy idea for a movie, so I don't know that Steven Spielberg was looking to do it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone in town passed
Right.
on the thing. So they had a choice between going with somebody who they didn't feel was qualified, or who maybe felt like they were boring or weren't going to bring something that exciting to it, or going with guys who were passionate about it but very inexperienced. And that's a bet we tend to make all the time on other people. I'd rather have somebody who hasn't done it before, who's super creative, than somebody who's done it a million times and is super boring.
Mm-hmm. So I know most of our audience is wondering this, and I am as well. What is it like to work with Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill?
Sure.
Is he dreamy?
They're wonderful.
Come on, he looks great on screen.
He's very good.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're both incredibly different, which I think why those movies work. Mm-hmm. Jonah's an incredibly talented improviser. He writes. On set, he's thinking of things for himself to say, but also he'll throw stuff out for Chan to say or Cube to say. And Channing is equally creative, but some of his creativity takes the form of his physicality. I've never seen anybody improvise a stunt before, but that's what he does. He'll sit there and be like, I bet I could jump this car on this next take. Can you put some mats down? And yeah, sure, no problem. So he expresses himself physically all the time. And Jonah, literally, he doesn't like to move. So he'll sit and hit the mark, and if you're like, hey, Jonah, can you eat spaghetti during this scene? He'd be like, no way, I literally can't think and move at the same time.
Wow.
So they both have completely different skills, and they really respect the other one, what they're really able to do. And so the fact that they liked each other and were friends was so unusual that people that were that different really connected like that. That was sort of the really special ingredient of that movie.
Yeah.
But it's really amazing to work with people that are as talented as they are.
So you guys returned to animation then with the Lego Movie, which has obviously been a big commercial success. Can you tell us how that project first got off the ground?
Well, we have a friend, Dan Lin, who had the film rights, and he said, are you guys interested in Lego? And we said, no, that sounds like a giant commercial, and we don't want any part of it. But we started to think about it a little bit, and we started watching these brick films that people do online, which they make in their basement, and they're these homemade animated pieces. And we thought, well, maybe this could be like a really democratic garage band approach to a humongous tentpole movie. And maybe we could make it feel like it's Lord of the Rings, but a little kid made it in his basement. And that got us really excited. And so we wrote Dan an email that basically said, look, we're not going to do this, and you're going to hate it, but this is how we would approach it if you could convince us to do it. And it somehow got made. Yeah. I don't know what happened.
We got tricked into doing it.
I fell asleep, and then 2 years later there was a movie.
We thought, okay, this is not going to be a good idea. We're like, we'll write a treatment, we'll write a script, and then we'll get out. And we started working on the story and the script, and we were like, I think this is actually good. I kind of want to do this. And so then we decided we were in love with it and had to do it. And we're like so worried that we were committing career suicide by making a toy movie. But it ended up turning out fine. People actually...
The opposite
liked
of
it.
suicide.
Yeah.
Live aside.
People ended up liking it,
Yeah.
crazily enough.
Well, we have to take a short break, but stay tuned because we'll be right back with Phil and Chris after these short messages.
So were there other challenges involved in working with a movie with a recognized brand like Lego that's so universally known? And how would that impact how you would go about telling the story?
What's interesting about Lego is it's a very well-known brand with very little storytelling that's
Built into it.
yeah, that's built into it. So it's always co-opting stories from other brands, but in and of itself, they didn't have their own kind of like narrative system. So it gave it a lot of flexibility for us to kind of tell any story that we wanted.
Right. You have a bucket of bricks, and you're like, so it could be an airplane, or a house, or a submarine, or an elephant, or a submarine elephant, or something. And so there was infinite possibilities there. We were really preoccupied with making sure that it didn't feel like it was coming from the Lego corporate offices in Denmark, that it wasn't some sort of thing that was trying to shill toys. We wanted to feel like we were using Lego as a medium to tell a story, like clay to tell a claymation story, and that there were some tenets of Lego about like creativity and engineering and play that all were interesting to us, and that we were going to use some of those ideas, but that we didn't want it to feel like it came from anybody and there was any outside forces telling us what to do. So we wanted to feel like we were like people outside of the system throwing little bricks at it, and then so that was a guiding philosophy for us.
So like just dumping your like toy box.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and there were certain things that were germane to it. That these other guys had been screwing around with it a few years earlier and had the idea that it was going to be kind of like Toy Story in reverse, that you were going to like live in the world of the imagination and eventually discover that there was this meta universe outside. And they had ideas like they're going to find something in the park and they've never seen it before, and we recognize it as a sock. So that was something that was gifted to us from the beginning, and we really went with that. And then we really were interested in representing all the different recognizable universes, so that it made sense to start in a city and go to like a castle universe and then go to a space world to try to like hit all those things. And when we added that all together, we thought, oh, well then it should be kind of like a dimension hopping kind of like Matrix for children.
Well, can you tell us more about the differences in making an animated feature film and a live action film?
Oh, yeah, sort of an animated film is often done in reverse. You start with editing and you finish by actually shooting it. So it takes a long time. Usually takes about 3 years to make an animated movie, and you have a lot of chances to iterate on it, and you storyboard it, and then you look at an animatic of the whole movie, which is like a slideshow drawing version of the movie with voices from people around the office. And you see it in its kind of crummiest form, but you also get a chance to see what's working and what's not working, and change it and change it and change it before you actually produce the shots. Whereas in film, it takes about half the time that an animated film does, and live action, there's a lot, it's a lot less is controlled. Like when you're making an animated movie, every crack in the sidewalk has been designed by an artist. Every bead of sweat was chosen on someone's temple. There's 3 drops of sweat. And in real life, it's a little looser than that, and there are happy accidents that happen. So there's positives and negatives to each, and we're trying to bring the methods that we're using in animation that allow us to make sure that it's good into live action, and the looseness of live action into animation, and having the dialogue be a little looser and less canned, and allow for spontaneity.
So next up in the Lego series is the Lego Batman movie, and that is slated to come out 2017. Is there anything you can tell us about that project yet?
Good question.
I can
I'm trying
tell
to
you
I don't want to
think-
get
yeah,
in trouble. Or
No,
It is the.
we get in trouble because we forget what we're supposed
allowed
to
to
say
say.
and what we're not.
We're allowed to say that sort of it's the same Batman from the Lego movie, Will Arnett. It's the Will Arnett Lego movie version of Batman, and it takes place a lot, mostly in Gotham City, and it's a story where we've got Michael Cera is Robin. I believe Zach Galifianakis is going to be the Joker, and Rosario Dawson is Batgirl, and there's a whole great cast, and it's really funny, and it's sort of digging deeper into why Batman is so dark and depressed, even though he's super rich and handsome and everyone loves him.
Must be a hard life.
Yeah, I know, it's tough.
It's a really hard life.
Yeah.
Why is he so dark and sad and lonely? I don't know.
Maybe the movie will
That's the
help
question.
figure it out. You
Film.
know?
Can he be
Handsome.
happy? Yeah,
He's good looking. He's attractive.
those are all synonyms though.
He's got a lot of different muscles
Yeah.
that are very well developed. Just seems like he's got a lot to smile about.
So going back to the Jump Street films, 21 Jump Street took place in high school, and then we headed to college with 22 Jump Street. So where are we going in 23 Jump Street?
If the credits are to believe, they're going to medical school.
That's right. And
And the credits are canon, as we've said.
Exactly.
This was insanely picked up by media outlets.
yeah, so we're working on a Jump Street script with our friend Rodney, who was one of the writers of 22 Jump Street, which has got a crazy idea, but it is outlandish, and it also is the next step in those guys' relationship. The logical next step in those guys' relationship. Yeah. You can't really say too much because we're not allowed to, but hopefully that movie happens, and if it does, I think it will feel different from the previous two.
Yeah,
in a
there's
good
no
way.
question about that.
So we're going to go back to TV a bit. You've been behind some critically acclaimed TV sitcoms, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Last Man on Earth. You've worked with Andy Samberg and Will Forte in the past. Is it a coincidence that both shows feature Saturday Night Live alum?
Well, it's probably more meaningful that those are guys that we've known a long time and
were our friends before they were actors.
yeah, before they left for SNL. We produced a pilot with Andy in The Lonely Island before those guys broke, and then Forte we got him into the union because he was the lead voice on Clone High, our first TV series. So it has a lot to do with our belief in those guys' talent and the fact that they know us well enough to know that we're not big losers.
And they would trust us to help them
Yeah,
start off their TV shows.
right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it was interesting that when we started out, a lot of our friends, that the people who were really talented and worked really hard, almost all of them became very successful people. And so when we first moved out to Los Angeles and we were hanging out with Andy Samberg and Will Forte, and they were just really funny people that were cracking us up, but they were very obsessed with making things over and over again, and the people who were talented and worked really hard all found success. So that's, I think, good advice for anybody who's trying to make it.
Well, two high-profile projects have generated a lot of buzz lately. For example, you're planning a SpiderMan movie for Sony and a young Han Solo Star Wars film for Disney and Lucasfilm. But how do you decide what projects to accept?
It all comes down to what inspires us, you know? The Spider-Man thing, we had an idea that we really were excited about, and the Sony people were insane enough to want to do it, and that's so far so good. You know, Star Wars is something that's really close to our hearts, and that character in particular. And the idea of trying to expand what these movies can do and how they could feel was really exciting to us. So it's, I don't know, it's kind of like you know it when you see it, but you know it when you feel it. Like if you start feeling really creative and you go to sleep, you wake up with a start and you've got, oh, that would be a cool thing, or what, we should try that, then you're on the right track. short of that, it's sort of not. These things are too hard to make if you're not passionate.
You're spending years of your life and all of your brain power thinking about them. If you're not excited about it, then you shouldn't do it. We've been doing probably too many things recently.
Yeah, we've been too inspired, I think.
Yeah, like, oh, that'd be fun, that'd be cool. And usually there are things that we think we would be upset if someone else did it. And we would think that they would not do as good of a job as the version that we are thinking of. And there's a lot of movies that we didn't do that I'm glad we didn't do, because they were done much better than we ever would have done them by people who had more interesting takes that were better than what we had to say.
So kind of just going off of that, you turned down some pretty big projects. You reportedly passed on the Ghostbusters update. You plan to produce but not direct the Lego movie and sequel 23 Jump Street. So, I mean, how do you make those difficult decisions?
I mean, I think for us, novelty is a big part of it. We're biased towards doing something we haven't done before, and so that's guided some of that stuff. In terms of Ghostbusters, like, that's an example of something where we really didn't have any good ideas, and we had to say, look, you should try to find somebody who's got a clear take. And then I think Paul had that really clear take of let's do this, this like girl power version of Ghostbusters, and I was like, oh, right, that's a great one.
Yeah, usually it's based on, do I have an idea that I'm really excited about and have to tell? Or is this going to feel like something that somebody else might do as good of a job as me or better? And that's sort of the main guide. And then other ones are sort of like, we can't do all of them at the same time.
Right, yeah.
Like a 23 Jump Street would be fun, but it seemed like a more unique opportunity to do a Han Solo movie because we hadn't done something in that space, and it was pretty exciting.
Space.
Yeah.
Nice.
Excellent
Very
fun.
much.
Solid fun.
Anytime.
So talking about projects that you guys have accepted, Fox announced recently that you're going to be adapting the Breakout podcast serial into a TV series. So what can you guys tell us about this project? How has it been different from anything you've done in the past? And along with that, how is it different from all this work you've done in film previously?
Well, that's at the very early stages of development. We're really excited that the serial folks have entrusted their really incredible work to us. It's a really fun partnership. They're really wonderful. We got really inspired by their experience of creating that podcast and what it meant to try to tell a really compelling story and also discover the truth at the same time. And so that show, their podcast, and hopefully this show, is kind of about the tension between telling a great story and telling the truth, and how they don't always equate to the same thing. Mm-hmm. And that's about all we got.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be it's a new space for us. It's something that is not as overtly comedy as some of our other stuff has been, and delves into some more serious type of issues.
Yeah.
But it's a really exciting and theoretical space to be in.
Yeah, and the even though it's like very serious subject matter, and we're going to be doing a different case than the Adnan Syed case, but we thought it was a fish out of water story, and there's something really funny about those two people being in those situations, and becoming kind of like detectives while trying to also be journalists.
Right. These are, they were doing regular reporters, not crime reporters, not detectives, that got embroiled in this thing. And they were doing a podcast, and at the time, nobody had even know what a podcast was.
And they assume that no one's going to hear it.
Yeah, they were like, probably like 1,000 people will listen to this at most. And then millions of people were doing it, and these people who were living private lives and were tangentially related to this case, were not famous people or public figures, were suddenly being talked about all over the country and the world, and speculated on and brought into the public eye in a way that was a little bit uncomfortable for everyone. And these two women were at the core of it, going like, "What have we done?" And that was really interesting, and it seemed like it could be a interesting fodder for our TV series.
We'll have more with Chris and Phil after this short break.
So in addition to your numerous projects in development, you have an animated pilot starring Jason Sudeikis for possible series pickup at Fox. Also at Fox, they purchased a time travel comedy, In Time.
Yep.
Crazy set of projects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever imagine you would be this busy?
No.
I wish I was.
It's
not.
all on, and if we had, maybe we would have slowed it down a
Yes.
little bit.
We didn't think as many of them were going to go as have gone.
Yeah, the design of it wasn't for everything to be
Right.
successful. The design was for, you plant a lot of seeds and hopefully everything doesn't die.
Yeah, I grew up during the Depression in the 20s, so I feel
Yeah,
like I got to
so
accumulate
he's a
things
real
just
pessimist.
just in case other things fall through. But we probably are a little too busy now, and we're trying to figure out ways to lighten our load a little bit.
We
so
have
can
really
focus
great
on this.
partners on all those projects, and it's really inspiring to see people pick up the mantle and run with that stuff. And we are just lucky to be able to take some credit for their work.
That's true. I mean, in the case of all of the TV shows, there's always some very smart, creative voice behind all of them that's really driving the show. In the case of Last Man on Earth, it's Forte, and on Son of Zorn, it's these two guys that are creating that. And there's another friend of ours that's making this time travel comedy, and we're there to sort of help them execute the vision that they see for the show in the way that we think is the best possible way.
Can you tell us more about Son of Zorn with with Jason Sudeikis or the In Time pilot?
Sure. So Son of Zorn is a hybrid animated live-action show that is sort of like Roger Rabbit, I guess, in a way. And the idea, which is crazy and it's very much in the execution, is there's a He-Man-like character named Zorn who has finished battling Glom beasts in his land of Zephyria and is returning to Orange County, where his ex-wife and son, who is animated from the waist down but is live action from the waist up, live, and he's trying to reconnect with his son and his ex-wife in a live action world and get a job and
Like wears a tie.
yes.
Rick wears a tie here, and he's got a huge sword on his back.
Yes.
It's
And
very silly.
it's a crazy idea, and the guys that have made it have done a great job in the execution of it to make it feel really grounded and understated and not too wacky.
It's basically about a fractured family that has to live together. It's like the most conservative thing you could do. It's just expressed in a very unconservative way. And then In Time is very early, but it's a incredibly grounded time travel show with sort of like quantum leap overtones.
Yeah, it's sort of about three people that work at a college that figure out a way to time travel and then balance their time traveling exploits with keeping up with their regular jobs during the day and having the two things bleed into each other. And it's a lot about the real logistics of the challenges of time travel and
The minutia.
like if you
Like
want
what do you wear?
It's an interesting question.
Right.
Yeah.
And even, like if you go, if you wanted to go to ancient Egypt, you have to like get on a Southwest flight and then get on a flight to Egypt and then go back in time there. Because if you went back in time wherever you were, you'd have no way to get there, that sort of thing.
Yeah, there'd be no.
Yeah, and if you brought a plastic Ziploc bag, everyone would think you were magic.
Right.
So it's
And doing that in series as opposed to a movie just allows you to tell the
lot more
mundane,
granular
day-to-day of it. Yeah.
it's gonna be fun.
So is there anything you can tell us on the direction you plan on taking with the Star Wars film?
We're just trying to make it really, really good.
That's always good.
Right.
It's pretty early yet, and we probably can't say very much.
Well, you can say that sort of Han is a very maverick character, and so we want the film to have a very mavericky type of feel to it, and have the whole movie embody that spirit of sort of anti-authoritarian and kind of the fun that character feels like.
He's kind of the original rebel.
Right. Who isn't an actual rebel.
Right.
But is at the same time. So it's early, as Phil's saying, so it's very, very loose at this point.
And like some Disney lawyer will like
Murder
parachute
us
in
if
through
we
the
say anything.
studio and destroy
Yes.
us. Yeah.
All right, well, we don't want that, so
Yeah.
that's
we want
good enough for
to
now.
survive.
Yeah.
Disney snipers.
The Disney snipers are everywhere. Yeah,
Say
if
the
anybody
word.
sees a red dot on my head, just let me
Exactly.
know. Oh wow. They don't even see, they forgo the dots now.
Yeah.
So who would you guys say that your greatest influences have been?
Oh man.
There's so
Steve Martin,
Yeah, I mean, we could
The
go on-
Simpsons,
Yeah, the Coen Brothers, Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Hal Ashby,
The
Bill Plimpton.
Yep. So I think it's hard to say how
Just
how
popping
good of
what's
them.
in it. Yeah, I mean, and you know, there was a year when Election and Rushmore came out, like within months of each other, and it was like 98 or 99, and I remember really feeling like there was a whole new voice in cinema. I mean, that's a pretty good list, right? Good starting
start.
point. Yeah.
We-
If I think of anything else, I'll just shout it out in the middle of another answer.
We rip off from everybody.
Yeah, we steal.
Equal opportunity. Rip off artists. I mean, influences.
Influence.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
So, what do you hope to accomplish in the future, and do you two plan on working together for the rest of your careers?
No pressure.
Like, I feel like if we keep making things that are that we haven't done exactly before, and I don't know if that means doing like a gritty coal miner drama, or what. But if we keep stretching what we're doing, that people still let us make things in the future, or we don't crash and burn horribly, which is certainly possible. A goal, that would be a goal to make.
To keep going.
Keep working and
What-
making new things that we're proud of for the next.
I don't know. Mike Birbiglia.
25
Mike Birbiglia was like, I want to make 10 of these.
10 movies?
Yeah, I feel like that's a good
career.
number.
That's a good career.
That's a great career. One of the neat things about watching other filmmakers is it is a job where you can get better with age. And unlike if you were an NFL running back, you can kind of get better and better if you approach it the right way. So that's what I hope we can do, is that we can just keep growing, getting smarter and smarter. We're still kind of beginners, you know, so it's nice to know that, I don't know, we might just get worse from here. That's another possibility.
Can't think like that.
That is not the
Let's
intention.
not get
At
The
some
intention is to
point-
keep getting better.
At some point, we'll get really old and crotchety and be
Well-
like, all these hologram movies these days.
That's true. We're not going to
Implanted
be
the
able to
kids'
survive
brains.
in the hologram environment.
Yeah.
But Larry Kasdan,
That's
who
right.
we're working with on the Star Wars movie, he was like, one of these days, you guys haven't done it yet, but one of these days, one of these things you make is going to stink. And it's going to surprise you. And so I guess we're just kind of
We're due.
play it out until then, and we're definitely due.
Yeah.
For like
That's why
4
we're doing like
straight
400
bombs.
projects, because
Yeah.
we can then have one of them stink. and
Honestly,
then-
nobody should make movies with us until we have that inevitable fall.
Right.
So that they can be part of the Phoenix-like rise.
Right.
You don't want to be part of the Icarus-like fall.
Right.
No.
And
We'll edit this
basically,
part out,
Lucasfilm
for
has just
sure.
like blown it. Yeah. I mean, the law of averages, there's going to be regression to the mean.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All I know is you keep blowing up a balloon more and more, and it just
It gets bigger and bigger and bigger
And nothing
forever.
bad ever
and
happens.
It flies forever.
Was there any single question that you were hoping we would ask that we haven't already?
Oh gosh, a question that we was like, ooh, goody, I hope they ask me about my parents.
How did you guys get so sexy?
Yeah, you guys haven't, you've really not, there's been no questions about our sexiness or sort of general good physical appearance.
We're getting to it.
Yeah, are you getting to it? That's
Yeah,
a
it's on
whole.
the back of
We're
my
not gonna
head.
have. I mean, I thought it looks like we're running out of time. I don't know how you. I guess we can, tape over what we just did. I don't know. Any other questions, Chris?
No, you guys are doing great. You guys are excellent.
I want to
and all
interview
good
these
interviewers.
guys. Yeah. What's wrong? How's my broadcast posture?
It's great.
It's been kind of wiggling all over the place.
It's
I've
like
been
a
doing
laid
this.
back but professional look still.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
yeah, you got it.
I feel like I touch my face too often. And then
You're
I never know what to
animated.
do when Chris speaks. I just sit really still.
Make a lot of like an eye roll face.
Well, I feel like I used to do a lot of move around, and have a tendency to shift in my seat anyway. And then we're in these kind of leather things, and they're really noisy. Anyway, there's a lot going on in here.
You're doing great so
the
far. You're
mouth's
doing
not
great.
moving.
What does it mean to the both of you to win this Mace Award?
Well, it's a communications award, right? So that's exciting because we don't communicate so good.
Yeah, it's for excellence in communication.
Right, that means talking nice.
It means talk gooding.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they didn't pay close enough attention to the content that was being communicated.
Right.
If they knew how many
Balls jokes.
crotch
yeah.
jokes were being communicated. I mean, I feel like we convey those jokes with excellence.
Yes.
There's no question.
It's just the content of
The
what we're
content maze, I
communicating.
don't know if humanity really needs one more wiener bit.
Well, we need to laugh.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's the best
you know.
medicine,
And look,
right?
I guess it's on
honestly.
society to stop laughing at those
Right,
jokes.
exactly.
Far be it from us
We're
to
saving
deny it.
lives.
Yeah, we're saving
Exactly.
people's lives.
Yep.
I know.
But it's so cool to be here and to get to meet some students and talk to people, and that's really the best part about the whole thing.
One of my favorite fine artists is this guy, Robert Irwin, and one of the things he did, he's a light and space artist, and one of the things he did, I think in the 90s, is he just said any request to hang out with students or young artists, I'm just going to say yes. And he made it part of his artistic practice to constantly communicate with other artists and young people. And I always remembered that and thought what a neat thing to be able to continually do that. And every time we get a really nice opportunity like this, we try to make it work because it honestly benefits us as much as it benefits anybody else. It makes us, it's really
Feast
fun.
on your youth.
And that's what we do.
Drink
we
from the
drink
skulls
your
of-
blood and then stay young.
Forever.
We're actually 75 years old.
Wow. You look great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
thank you.
and it's
Nice.
because of
Of your stem cells.
feasting on your youth auras.
So you're like Patrick Stewart. basically.
We're
Exactly.
Patrick Stewart, so if you wouldn't mind, we just need a lock of everybody's hair,
Exactly.
and we're gonna brew it into a tea. And if you guys don't mind, you guys look pretty young back there. Anyway, that's gonna make sure we have long careers.
Excellent.
Secret.
Yeah.
So other than that, what wisdom or
Stem
advice?
cells, everybody.
Other than stem cells, what wisdom or advice do you hope to pass on to the students here at Monmouth, especially those considering a career in media?
Make things. I think that's the thing we always preach. It's like you said, fake it till you make it. So make it till you make it, maybe.
Right. Well, the first ones that you make are going to be terrible. They always are. Our student films are terrible. The first things that we were working on were not great, and you have to get those out of your system and learn what works and what doesn't work. And if you spend all your time thinking about getting an opportunity to make something or talking about making something, you're not going to get that stuff done. And you got to make it and then learn from it and then keep changing and revising it and not get too precious about the stuff that you make and make a great volume of stuff. And then the people who do that and keep working hard at doing that have everyone that we know that's done
I don't
that
know
has-
anybody who hasn't succeeded.
Right.
That we came to
that
town with. Yeah.
that had that kind of work ethic to be able to do that. That wasn't, if you have any modicum of talent, even if you're just
You don't
mediocre,
even- you honestly don't even need that much
you
talent.
just have to work really, really hard and be
Yeah.
open to what people tell you about your stuff, and then you can make it. You too can make it.
Yeah.
But then if you don't make it after 7 years, you should do something else.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe it wasn't
But
for
7
you.
years is a good amount.
But 7 years is a long time.
Okay, well, unfortunately, we are out of time, but I just want to thank you both for taking time out of your day to come meet with us again. And we want to wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors, and congratulations on winning such a prestigious award.
Oh, thanks,
gosh,
guys.
Thanks so much. It's an honor to be here.
Great
you guys
questions.
are great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
On behalf of Amanda Glatz of The Outlook, Joseph DeAngelis of WMCX, and Amanda Contour of The Verge, I'm Danielle Axelrod with HawkTV News.